All right, and we're ready to go. To those watching at home, welcome to the live stream this evening of the ordinary meeting of Council of the 26th of May 2020. We will now continue on with proceedings. Item 8, applications for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any requests for a leave of absence? No indication. Item 9, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I please have a mover and a seconder to accept the minutes of the 12th of May 2020 Council meeting? Move Councillor Spagnuolo, seconded Councillor Proud. Can I have a vote, please? And hold your cards up. Thank you, councillors. That Councillor Farrelly, I just need to see yours. Councillor Farrelly at home. Fantastic. Green background. Okay. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 10, announcements by the presiding member. I have nil. Item 11, unresolved business from previous meetings. There is nil. Item 12 is reports and recommendations of committees. Due to the recent council resolution to not hold committee meetings until further notice, there are no reports from committees to the council. Item 13, reports for consideration in accordance with section 4.24 of the Meeting Procedures Local Law 2009. The following items would normally have been presented to the Planning and Development Committee. However, due to social distancing and consequently Council's resolution to not hold committee meetings until further notice, the items are being presented direct to Council instead. We'll now move on to item 13.1, which is Local Planning Scheme number 3, Draft Local Planning Policy 6.15, exemption from requiring development approval outcomes of advertising on page 7 of the agenda. Councillor Caddy, you have an alternative director or an amended.
I don't, but I'm happy to move the alternative recommendation that was sent through by the director and is on our white paper.
Thank you. Councillor Proud, you happy to second that? Is there anyone opposed? Being no one opposed, I will put that motion. All those in favour, please. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.2, rights of way naming in a double queue ward on page 35 of the agenda. Do I have a mover of a motion? Councillor Reid.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to move as written on page 35 that the council endorses the following proposed right-of-way naming suggestions and preferences for right-of-way 17018 located in the double queue ward as shown in attachment 1, and that these are forwarded to Landgate for approval. First preference, Crocker Lane. Second preference, Yarragon Lane. And third preference, Beagle Lane, as per written in the report.
Thank you. And seconded, Councillor Proud. Is there anyone opposed? Thank you. I will put that motion in. If you can hold up your cards, please. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 14, motions of which previous notice has been given. Now go to item 14.1, notice of motion, Councillor Elizabeth Reid, 2021 City of Stirling Milestone Celebrations. This is part of the late report agenda on page 4. Councillor Reid.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to support the recommendation on page 8, which is with an additional revised recommendation, please.
Sure, and what's the addition you'd like to have?
The staff should have up there somewhere. Please.
You just read out the addition that you have.
That the council approves appropriate resources from within the Directorate on the celebration of the history of the City of Stirling's Golden Jubilee, the 60th anniversary of the formation of the Shire of Perth, and the 150th anniversary of the formation of the Old Perth Road Board from the 1st of July 2019 until the 31st of December 2020. Addition to the suggested alternative recommendations on page 8, please.
Thanks, Councillor. Is there a second to this motion, please? Councillor Spagnuolo, is there anyone opposed? Question, Councillor?
Can I just seek clarification? I'm assuming that the date should be 1st of July 2020. It's meant to start July this year, Councillor Reid?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I'm sure that...
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, I think we're seconded councillor Spagnola. Is anyone opposed to this motion? If not, I will put it to the vote. Hold your cards up. Thank you, councillors. That is unanimous. Item 14.2, notice of motion, Councillor Elizabeth Reid, the 2021 Wetlands Conference, late report agenda, page 9, suggested alt rec page 12. Councillor Reid.
Yeah, I'm happy with the alternative recommendation. Just one little concern is that it does say that the conferences were always held in Coburn. They weren't. The last one was held in Lake Munga in January. So I just think that they need to tidy up the report that it's not always in Coburn, which I did speak to staff about. So I'm going with, and yes, we don't know what will happen, but it's just as I mentioned last time, I think it's important that the city writes to the Wetland Conference Steering Committee seeking feedback regarding its intention for hosting the venue of the 2021 Wetlands Conference event.
Thank you. And seconded, Councillor Caddy. Just noting that change in the agenda. And is anyone opposed to this item? No indication, so I will put that one to the vote. You can hold your votes up, please. That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 15, notice of motion for consideration at the next meeting. Councillors, are there any notice of motion you would like to raise for consideration at the next meeting? Councillor Reid?
Yes, please, if the staff could bring that up.
Yeah, we can just have that up on the screen. If you could just read out the motion, councillor.
That the council approves the tabling and recording of the notice of motion and motions submitted by councillors on a database available on the City of Stirling website to enable both officers and the public to easily search intentions by council.
Thank you, councillor. That's intent is clear. Is there anyone else who would like to put a notice of motion?
And my second one?
Oh, sorry, councillor Reid, second one.
That is that a report be presented to a future meeting of council on the current percentage of goods and services purchased within and outside the city, and outlining the potential and practicalities of amending the City of Stirling's procurement practices to ensure the city purchases at least 50% of the goods and services from within the City of Stirling businesses.
Right. Thank you, councillor. Ready? Is there any other indication from within the chamber? Is there any indication from people, councillors at home? No indication.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Migdale.
Yes. Is it on the board? I can't see.
We'll just get it up on the board.
Yeah.
Okay, it's up. If you'd like to read it out, please.
That a report be presented to council advising of the cost of skip bins on demand per annum compared to the previous model of roadside collection.
Thank you, councillor. All right. Everyone else at home okay? Good, then we will move on. Item 17, new business of an urgent nature. That's the item 17.1, resumption of committees, late report agenda 13. Do I have a mover of the motion, please? Councillor Proud.
As per the first recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Thornton. Is there anyone opposed? I did wonder if we'd get some of those. I will now put that to the vote then. You hold your cards up. And that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item 17.2, COVID-19 policy manual review, late report agenda page 17. Alt rec, Councillor Caddy.
Thank you. Yes, I have a modified alternative recommendation, which includes comments both from myself and Councillor Lagan. That should be up on the board. It doesn't change the intent, it's just clarifies a few things. So 1, 2. Okay, no, that's the same.
Right, let's just make sure it's the right one up there.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. 1, 2 and 3 are as per the officer's recommendation. 4 is with the exception of recommendation 2 and recommendation 5. Council agrees the policy conditions revert back to the original format at the conclusion of both the state of emergency and the public health emergency, unless A, the CEO determines that the policy should revert sooner due to a relaxation of restrictions relating to that policy before the conclusion of both the state of emergency and the public health emergency, or B, council determines otherwise. The other change is to point 5, which is to include a date for review, which is October 2020. The reason for change, the reason for change was to clarify that recommendation 2 was a permanent change, and to acknowledge that some of these policies need to revert before the state of emergency is removed because of changes to the restrictions.
And Councillor Lagan, you're happy to second that? Yep. Okay, is there anyone opposed? This is Councillor Reid. Councillor Kenny?
Look, thank you. Look, just to stress, this is not a review of the 20 or so policies that are contained in here. It's basically just to allow the officers to regulate those policies slightly differently under the COVID situation. And in most cases, it just says, you know, these facilities are currently closed as opposed to, you know, that we can use them. Or the social distancing has to be applied. I think the most material change is around point 2, which is the change to the procurement policy. While this is included in this paper on COVID measures, it's actually in response to a change in legislation that has raised the threshold for procurement. So this allows us to respond to that change. That's why this change is permanent as opposed to all the others being COVID related. I'm desperately looking up at the relevant directors to make sure I haven't said anything incorrect there. But if I could just get maybe some assistance with that from Ms. Hawkins.
Yeah, Ms. Hawkins, if you can just provide clarity around that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So again, that changes to the regulation are related to COVID in terms of the increase in those thresholds, and also within procurement allowing for those emergency provisions and also extensions for 12 months. So those are related to COVID. I guess on this point as well, just to note that tender threshold has changed, but the delegations in terms of what tenders and procurement process will come to council are still the same.
Does that provide clarity, please?
Yeah, that's fine. So look, I'm happy to support these amendments. It's actually coming to us quite late in the day. I think we'll probably be removing a lot of these things within probably 4 weeks of having passed this motion, but I think just tidies things up. I don't think, I don't think it's causing too many thanks.
Councillor Lagan?
I would just I would support that, and my request was only to get a date, and that is listed in the green for review in October. The only thing I would like to ask through you, Mr. Mayor, to officers, so I'm looking at the policy on page 47. It talks about elected member and chief executive officer events policy, attendance and events policy. Just a question through you. I'm wondering why the additional cost that may be sought from council budget is not covered in the CEO's TRP.
Ms. Hawkins, are you able to provide? Mr. Blanchard?
I would take that on notice to provide a comprehensive answer to you, Councillor, but I wouldn't have thought that the attendance at events would be part of the total remuneration package as defined under the relevant determination, but I'll take that on notice and get a written answer to you.
Yeah, and page, the reason I'm reading it up is that I think it's unfortunate, and we may need to review this policy and have a look at it. On page 48, and throughout that policy, there are a number of referrals to either the mayor attending or the chief executive officer attending events where the officer may attend without referral to council. My opinion is that's unfortunate. I think in today's world, the requirement for the council to be answerable for all its expenditure encompasses the fact that there may well be at times that the CEO and mayor need to attend events that are urgent or last minute events, but they can still be passed through council for council to vote on. I'm well aware that this council, I don't think we've ever said a no to attendance at events, but I would prefer that it was transparent and upfront so that the council at least has oversight, especially on the expenditure. I think that's important, and possibly in the future we'll look at that. But other than that, I'm very supportive of the notice of motion.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Reid, you're opposed?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, what is the penalty if you don't adhere to the policy, please?
Mr Blanchard? Is there a particular policy you're referring to, Councillor, or just in general?
Just kidding.
Thank you, Councillor. What would happen if the policy wasn't adhered to would depend on the circumstance. That could mean that the policy didn't apply to the circumstances because it needed to be flexible. It could mean that more training needed to be done. It could mean any number of things. So it would really be dependent on the circumstances of the breach of policy, or whether the policy was being flexibly or inflexibly applied.
Councillor?
No, that can really answer any questions. Say, for example, if I look at page 30, which I'm questioning why that actually got changed, when we look at the use of some of the rooms, it always used to be that it must be approved by the mayor of the CEO. Now, according to this, it was, it doesn't say when it was ever reviewed on page 36, and it says it's up for review in 19th of November 2020. So, my point is that, say, if somebody used the room and they shouldn't have used the room, or didn't get approval to use the room, do they get a penalty? There's an example for Mr. Blanchard.
Mr Blanchard?
Thank you. No, there will be no penalty for that.
There you go, Councillor.
Makes me wonder about why we like so many policies. I do believe that needs to be tidied up. After all, the intention when this building was constructed 15 years ago was the council chambers on one side and the offices on the other. You know, it was done in such a manner to make sure that there was a separation of powers and duties and operational issues. So I still believe that that should go back to having at least the mayor approve anything this side. So I do believe that needs to be tidied up. I think with a lot of these policies that are in here that coming to council not all in one hit is difficult for the councillors in 3 days and the staff in 1 day to answer all the questions. And the fact that there is no penalty for any of the policies makes it even more like, why are we reading it?
Councillor, can I just butt in there and just make mention? I think it's really important to note that the reason there are so many policies coming is so that we're not operating outside of policy during COVID. These are not a review of these policies, and policies can be brought back to council to be reviewed if you have concerns with any of them.
I have tried to do that on several occasions, and I realise that. I'd like to know why this has taken so long. We're at the end of the tether, not at the beginning. There are not a lot of changes in here in which to adapt to the COVID-19 issue. So why wasn't this raised 13th of March? It was declared. So why did it take so long to get to council, please?
Mr Blanchard?
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. This year has 89 policies and a number of management practices, all of which have been reviewed in light of the COVID-19 situation. The policy and management practice review wasn't started when the COVID-19 emergency started, as more pressing issues were attended to at that time. Once those more pressing issues had been attended to, we then commenced review of policy and management practices approximately 1 month ago, and that's resulted in this paper being presented to council.
Councillor Reid?
Maybe that's something that needs to be looked at in the future, that if it does happen, then we're not behind the 8 4 months later. My second comment follows on from Councillor Caddy. It was actually the 8th of March, 8th of May, that they actually presented the changes to the tender arrangements. We don't actually have in this recommendation that we revert back if the government decides to revert back, or are we going to wait for because we are still buying April, are we going to wait for the government to change it back or change it before we change that? Or are we saying that in 4, that any of the changes to the tender process will be incorporated if the state government changes it in 4?
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Green. In terms of that, yes, if the regulations change, then we will update the procurement policy and bring that back to council for adoption. So in terms of the procurement policy changes, as I mentioned, there are some that are related to threshold and there are others that are related directly to the emergency. But certainly if there are changes in those regulations, we'll bring the procurement policy back to be adopted by council.
Thank you for that. And my final question is, if this was gazetted on the 8th of May and we're now on 26th of May, where does the tender process come into legality? Is it someone who puts the tender in tomorrow, or is it someone that had the tender in on the 7th of May? Where does this start? And where does the staff start by increasing that threshold and the legality of doing so? Tomorrow, once it's sanctioned, these minutes are sanctioned, or have they already done so without council sanction?
Ms Hawkins?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. With regards to that, Councillor, the terms of tenders that were already out in the market, those would align with the $150,000. In terms of future tenders, that will come from when we get received action item from tonight's meeting.
Councillor Abbey? Thank you. Is there any other indication to speak? Councillor Spagnola?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just speaking in support of the motion, I think it's very important to realise that policies are guidelines. It is not legislation. We're governed by the regulations, we're governed by the Act, and every organisation, including the City of Stirling, needs to have a particular guidance, and that guidance is policies. I think Mr Blanchard mentioned we have 8, 9 policies or thereabouts. And, if we didn't have any policies, every time something came up, we wouldn't know what to do. The fact that we may breach our own policies from time to time doesn't necessarily mean that it's a hanging offence. As Mr Blanchard has pointed out, it may very well be that it did not apply at the time, or there was something else of some significance as to why it didn't apply. So I would certainly support the recommendations that we have. I believe it's necessary for us to obviously revert back once the state government makes the announcement. In the meantime, the council has agreed to provide these concessions, and we should continue to do so until such time that that announcement is made.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item? I might just ask governors if we can maybe get that off the screen, just so I can see my screen and see the councillors at home. See them all. Councillor Meadale, that's what I thought.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And I want to echo and support Councillor Caddy, Lagan and Councillor Spagnolo. I just would like to thank the administration staff who have worked on amending policies over the last few months. It has certainly been quite challenging all round, and I feel that thus far we should all be proud of the work that has gone into these amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item? If not, I will go back to Councillor Caddy. We'd like to close the debate. Happy? Right, so we'll put the motion. You can hold your cards up, please. Vote. That is unanimous, councillors. Can I just maybe ask Councillor Farrelly and Councillor Boothman at home, if it's possible to remove your blue screens behind you? You're both disappearing completely, and we can't see your cards when you vote either, if possible.
I was hoping for that.
I'll endeavour to do so.
Right, now takes to item 17.3, notice of motion, Councillor Suzanne Meadale, implications of amending tree pruning techniques, late report, agenda item page 129 with a suggested alt-rec page 139. Councillor Meadale.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the alt-rec, please. notes that the city's street trees are managed according to clearance regulations for power line and access and contemporary arboricultural standards and practices, and that the city prioritises tree canopy cover when responding to customer requests for pruning, planting and other related tree requests. And the reason for the alternative recommendation, Council's tree canopy cover target of 18% by 2040, as stated in the city's urban forest plan, should ensure that the goal is communicated and supported when determining individual tree requests. I so move.
Is there a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Caddy. Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Yeah, if I could just maybe get the motion back off so I can see the screen, but I only get 3 on my screen there. Happy? Right, so we go to the vote now, please. Thank you, councillors. That is unanimous. Councillors, can I now please have a mover and a seconder to go behind closed doors? Councillor Prout, seconded Councillor Lagan. We can just have a vote on that. Thank you. That is unanimous. Before we move on to the next item of business, we must now say goodbye to those viewing from home and to the public who are in attendance in the chamber, as we need to stop our live stream so the council can consider a confidential item prior to the closure of the meeting. Thank you for watching us this evening.